British Parliament voted this week to approve a bill that will ban public bodies from boycotting Israeli goods. Now, the measure, which passed 268 to 70, was pushed forward by Community Secretary Michael Gove, who says the bill guarantees foreign policy remains a UK government matter. The bill will fine public bodies which initiate economic boycotts against Israel or other countries that aren't in line with the government's position. After all, the UK and Israel share very strong ties. Now, the bill seeks to also combat the boycott, divestment, and sanctions anti-Israel movement, arguing that such initiatives are commonly accompanied by anti-Semitic discourse. And for more on this story, I'm joined by economist Dr. Alex Cohen. Doctor, thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Firstly, walk us a little bit for what was happening until now in the UK. Public bodies were just allowed to boycott Israeli products at random?
Yes, and usually communities where you had the majority of people who supported the BDS were for boycotting Israel, they could pass laws preventing their communities or companies in their areas from having business with Israel. They could actually, this has happened also outside of Britain, where they would have, for instance, bodies that invest money for employees, like unions investing money. They could prevent them from investing money in Israel, things of the sort. I think the most famous was the boycott by Ben & Jerry's on selling Ben & Jerry's ice cream in the territory, in the West Bank.
And how does the boycotting of Israeli products affect Israel's economy?
Well, I think the real impact has not been serious for Israeli economy. I think the main damage was caused, paradoxically, to the Palestinians. One incident where I happened to be the adjustant at the time was SodaStream, which is an Israeli company that manufactures soda machines, and they were manufacturing them in the West Bank, employing something like 400 employees in the assembly line, packaging, etc. The BDS was very effective in Scandinavia in particular, and many chains in Scandinavia boycotted the product. So there was no alternative. They had to shut down, and they moved it near Beersheba in Israel. The impact was that between 300 and 400 families were left unemployed. Unemployment in the West Bank is very high. We're talking about 40% for women, 20% for men. If you think about unemployment within Israel, it's 4%. So it's 10 times higher if you look at women. So employment is something which is very precious, particularly in this area. So this boycott basically means that companies must close down or not open activities there, and this is devastating for these communities.
Absolutely, and especially these companies that are based in the West Bank also employ Palestinians, as you mentioned. So is this bill really going to make a difference, or is it more of a symbolic move against the BDS movement?
Well, the symbolic impact, I think, is significant in the sense that usually when you look at the support is really, I mean, there's often a discussion whether anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are the same, and I think it's quite difficult to separate the two. But the idea of a boycott on a whole country is preposterous. I mean, within Israel, many people are very critical about what happens in the West Bank, about how people are treated there. Israel, in fact, had tried to get rid of the West Bank, which was a major failure. But so you have Israeli population is very divided on this topic. So the idea of an umbrella boycott, I think, is a very negative one. And I'm very, very happy that this law was passed. By the way, it's ironic that the Labour Party, which is basically influenced by Karl Marx and looks at employees, is so anti-Semitic. I'm talking about anti-Semitic, not anti-Zionist.
And I want to ask you, since we're talking about the boycott of some of these Israeli products, what are Israel's biggest imports, and what are these products that are specifically being boycotted? I mean, what are we seeing in British supermarkets that are being boycotted, that are coming from Israel?
Well, historically, Israel, if you think about supermarkets, the products were agriculture. Israeli agriculture is very innovative. If you're thinking about growing products, for instance, we're very good at growing products in the desert, near the Dead Sea. And the advantage is that on one hand, you have a lot of land, The sun is very warm there because so you can have products outside the season. So you get excellent prices because when these products are not available, we can deliver them. And the reason we can do that is because of our agricultural technology of cleaning the soil of salt. The soil is very salty, so we know how to clean it. We know how to use relatively salty water to water these crops, which the rest of the world does not know how to do it. We have dripping technology. So being a country in the desert, we can provide very competitive, very attractive products in very attractive periods of the year.